Hi, it's Gord Garner from CAPSA here, and I'm with my friend and colleague, Papa Ladjike. And we're going to have a conversation today around substance use health, equity, inclusion. What are the next steps? And what is this thing about compassion that is so powerful? And Papa, if you just want to introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, thank you, God. It's my pleasure to be here and to share, this moment with you, and just let you know that I really appreciate what you're doing. Since many years I met you, and my name is Papa Ladjike Diouf. I'm a clinical director. I'm a psychotherapist, psychologist, and I have some master degree and in my country, doctorate degree, but not recognized, here. But here I'm just like working as a psychotherapist, registered psychotherapist, and clinical director in addiction mental health for an organization, francophone organization named Le Cap. It was Maison Fraternité and Centre Psychosocial. They are in integration since March 2019. And like we are Le Cap right now, and we are serving clients who have some issues with addiction and concurrent disorders. And we have a residential program, and we have community program too. And right now we are developing like a lot of program in external programs for ACB communities like African, Caribbean, Black communities, and for immigrants too, and refugees. So yeah.
And so this work that you're doing, it's to me, it seems such an important work. We know that when great personal changes, often traumatic changes, what often drives people away from where they were, or even if they come here in the spirit of looking for different lives, it can be shocking to land in a culture that's different. No matter how warm and welcome we want to be here, it can be not that experience. And that can often lead to some public substance use in just mental health, and then you put COVID on top of that. And the feeling of isolation, I'm sure, in those communities has just increased that much more.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right around all the realities of immigration and integration and all the trauma in the process of immigration. And the gap between what we call in French ideal and the reality when you come in the country. And in the process, a lot of people faced like a lot of trauma, and those traumas sometimes are really difficult for them, and it can procure like some realities of addiction, and sometimes they don't have all the like the services they need culturally, adapted for their needs. And what I see in the last 7 years, I'm working with different population that it's that the immigrant population, sometimes men, a lot of men, they are facing the reality of mental health. Difficulties in mental health, and it's kind of a lot of shame and taboo in those community, especially for men, because of what I call the social court, the social tribunal, in the community.
Yes.
That let them in shame, let them in fear to ask for help. And there are a lot of consequences in the family and in their integration and access for the right services for them.
Yeah. Where, you know, in North America, we went through a large manufacturing cycle. And one of the things that they were really proud of is they could reproduce the same thing over and over again. Sort of like a McDonald's burger. This is what it tastes like. It always tastes like this. And this idea of uniformity became into our healthcare system, where it was like everybody is treated the same. It's like, yes, that doesn't work, you know? And so what was great for making canned goods or making hamburgers does not work with making health with people.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And so, but that's how the system, we had a friend in here the other day, and he was saying, you know, when I break my leg, you don't x-ray the other person's leg to see how to fix mine, you know? And so we need this individualized care. And when I say that, I don't mean something special, but I mean something impactful, something meaningful that is helpful.
And the reality, God, I realized that, you know, what we have as services, as programs, as tools are think for Caucasian population, okay? Even if in psychology, right now I'm seeing a lot of, you know, of my colleagues have some difficulties to integrate spirituality in their, you know, God is seen as, you know, an enemy and not as a partner in psychotherapy sometimes for clients, you know, because of a background of, you know, training, because of a background of realities in how psychology was think for a kind of population, a kind of society, a kind of culture. It was correct in a time because at that time we didn't have the reality today of immigration and the reality of multiculturality in our community. If I take the example of our region here, it's one of the biggest region of you know, newcomers.
Yes.
And different cultures. You know, and our clients are becoming those clients. And we as a professional, we need to be strong in, you know, knowing the realities and the needs of those clients. And it is not the case right now. We have to improve that, you know, that field in the system. And in our universities and in our researches, there is a lack of research and a lack of statistics around some communities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that has hampered things, but it's also the idea that, you know, if we just do more, you know, that's not going to change the results. Doing more of the wrong thing doesn't get you better results. And it's always hard for systems to recognize when they're wrong, because they're designed to be right. And so I call this organizational humility, you know, that's needed to be able to say, we're not talking about whether my intentions are right, we're not talking about my ideals, we're talking about my outcome, right? And so my outcome's not good for the people I'm trying to reach. So I need to set that aside and just say, you know, they're not experiencing my intentions, they're experiencing my actions, right? And so how do we change our actions? How do we change our services? And again, that organizational humility that I hear you speaking of, we're going to learn from the people what they need, and I can listen.
Yeah, and we have to need to learn each other. I like the term of humility, you know, because I think that both we have to be humble, to take the time. It's not, I don't believe on the strategy to, you know, point people and to be in, you know, in like not in a good, we have to be allies. You know, we have to be allies on what we need for the future of our community, of our society. Because what we are doing right now, we are doing it for the future, for our children. So we need to each other be humble and listen. Just listen. You know, sometimes it's difficult because we want to have some solution for others. without them, and it's like I think that it's the big deal we have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in a very simplistic way, the idea that I might know the answer for a community that I'm not part of is the problem.
Yeah. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It is the problem.
Yeah.
And so then how do we go forth in that, and how do we become safe?
Yeah.
Understanding, again, you talked about the many struggles through the immigration process, the fear, the unknown, the looking up and asking, may I come? Yeah. All that power structure. Yeah. And then here going, now how do we change that? And this is one of the difficult things is people talk about empowering people. Mm-hmm. I like to look at that and say, actually, you're giving power to them. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it has to come from you. You have to give up some of your power, and recognize that you have too much of this for the benefit of our country, and how to be with someone in a good way. Yeah, they're all strength-based people.
Yeah, and we have to learn around our systemic, mistakes in our strategies, because for a long time, some of our, government, they give a lot of money to help the minorities, or they give money to help some strategies or some politics or some projects, but they come with solution, and they didn't come with the mindset of learning and in partnership and going with the needs, the real needs, hearing the real needs from those population. And what it created some frustration. People are saying, oh yeah, we gave a lot of money, but there is no results. Yeah, it will be not results, because you come with solution, from your own perspective, from your own culture, from your own vision of world, from your own, perception of the needs of others without them. So I think that right now we have to, be humble. Yeah. I love that word, be humble, and be, to listen and to be in the mindset of allies, to mindset of partnership. Yeah.
Well, in a true sense, right? Yeah. And not I heard you and now I'm going to go make the solution. Yeah. I heard you, but I'm not sure I understand yet. Can you work with me?
To co-create. We have to co-create.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when it comes to people using substances or have trouble around substance use disorders or addiction, that co-creation becomes all the more important, because there's this sort of like exponential stigma of, I'm a person who uses substances, I'm a person with an addiction, but then I'm also maybe a single parent, and I'm also maybe a member of a cultural community that's a minority. Maybe I'm an immigrant. Maybe I don't even have papers yet. And it's not like 1 + 1.
Exactly.
Exactly. They're exponential.
Exactly. And I take, if I take the example of inclusion, I say that for a long time we were in an illusion of inclusion with our clients. Because we give some, sometimes we know, we think as professionals that we know what they need. And some statistics, we use some statistics around to develop programs, but we didn't take the time to be really inclusive with our clients. Yes. Help them to be around the table of decision, help them to have a voice of what we propose as strategy, as services, as programs, as tools. And I think that right now it's one of the lack we had in the system. Yes. The inclusion of those people we are serving. And a real inclusion, not an illusion of inclusion, but a real inclusion of those, those populations we serve.
And one of the ways you can sort of test that is if you're still always right, then you haven't included the other person yet.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that's fascinating for me, and I'd like your thoughts on, Pepe, is we're often doing research on program effectiveness as if everybody walking in the door is the same, versus if this was successful, who was it successful for?
Exactly.
What group of individuals?
Yeah.
And who wasn't it successful for? And is there something there? So it's not whether the people weren't successful, but whether the services weren't successful for the people.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Exactly. We have to change mind around how we are, organizing all the strategies and the politics and the services, and we have to focus on what is really important for people we are serving.
Yes.
And what are their real needs, But what is one of the lack of the system sometimes is that they put money in where it's not really the needs, and we have to organize. We have to organize like the system in being like client-centered. And being really client-centered, it's like the client is the most important in the system, and it's the most important in what we have to offer, like services and programs and tools. Not just being experts who serve clients. The real expert is the population we serve. They are the expert of their lives.
And they may need some information, right?
Yeah.
They may need some resources.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But mostly they need to be heard.
I think that it's the most important thing is they must be heard.
See, if I can talk about me for a second, when I'm heard, I naturally feel safer.
Exactly.
And when I feel safer, I think better.
And trust. Exactly.
Right?
We need them to be in safety and trust.
Yeah. And I had a difficult life. Right, so exactly. We don't want to get into the pain game here, but I can also absolutely in honesty tell you that other people have had lives like mine, but they've also been racial community members, they've also been impoverished members, they've also been immigration members, and those are not the same experiences as I had. And they certainly aren't the same outcomes as I had. If we went to our jail system, you wouldn't find me, but you'd find a lot of people like me who didn't look like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I guess, that ally piece has been very important to me. If we can talk about just for a moment about how you and I met. I'm living in Ottawa. It's a very bilingual community and multilingual community.
Yeah.
And as a young person, I had a speech problem and had to learn how to speak English. And it was very a harmful experience for me. And so I've always been difficult with languages. But I knew we had to reach out to the Francophone service providers, the Francophone community. And so I showed up at Maison Pratt with a box of T-shirts and an English voice. And it was, bonjour, excuse-moi.
Yeah. And you have a good point here, God, because I realize that in some communities, some minorities, there is a lot of newcomers, they don't speak any of both languages. No French, no English.
Yes.
And the reality is that if they have family, if they have children, their children are going at school. And their children have access to one of the official languages or two official languages.
Yes.
And their parents at home, they don't speak any of those languages. And you see the gap in how they can have the power to be real parents, to educate their children in a new society when we have that gap.
Yes.
So, and that gap create a gap in access for services.
Absolutely.
So, and I think that in my own experience, when I arrived as a director, clinical director, one of the things I realized is that we ask clients to be appropriate to our system, not the
system appropriate to the
yeah.
client.
And it was a big deal for me to help my team and to help scan the system, saying that I think that it's not fair. We have to serve clients, so the system must be, here for the client, not the client to be here for the system. And I think that it's one of the change. Change is really uncomfortable.
Yes.
We have to accept that discomfort, if we want to change the system. And we have to suffer, for this, that discomfort,
No. Yeah. Well, and I got a chance to ask some people a little while ago if they were concerned about their agency or concerned about the clients of their agency. Because if we have people coming looking for help who are going through fear, they're going through unrespectful relationships, they're going through feeling unwelcome, less than, right? And then the agencies don't want to have those experiences for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, well, somebody's got a job, somebody's got a home, somebody's got security, so who's in a better position to go through some discomfort?
Yeah.
And just take a look at that.
Yeah.
And realize the privilege involved in that simple thing is I don't want to be uncomfortable. Because that says I am comfortable. Wow. How privileged can you be in this world than to be comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the example I can take is the example of some of our clients who face like the reality of jail, the reality of criminality. And I realized that population sometimes they are rejected everywhere. So you ask a client like that to be like a normal, excuse me, but I don't know what is a normal, but in our system to be a normal client.
Yeah.
It's not possible. So how can we help them to recover? How can we help them to return in a normal life? They want to return if they are rejected and stigmatized by the system.
Yeah. So I'm not in a position to comment on a lot of different cultures. Yeah. The one that comes to mind is the Indigenous culture here in Canada and the Indigenous peoples and nations who have this model of inclusivity, who have a circle, who have been together in a good way, who have respect, respect, and going, so there's a learning there, and there's a learning from people that are just here for the first day, first week. What do you have? What did you bring, right? Yeah. And it's not, your education, it's not your skills, it's your humanity. What did you bring? How are you living together? Yeah. And, I have a friend from Afghanistan who says to me, I had this picture of Canada in my head. Yeah. And he says, and I can't believe I get here and it's like, you're not very nice to each other.
Yeah. And we have to learn from those nice, cultures, those nice practice, those nice values around us, you know. And I think that it will be, helpful if we want to create that society with equity, diversity, and inclusion.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fundamental, I think. Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to suggest to you that me going to the door at Maison Frat wasn't the difference maker. It was you letting me in and welcoming me. And so that's a great role model for each other, that the other person may not have what we would hope they would have, but we can still open the door to them because of the interest. And so, and here we are, you're now a board member of the Community Addiction Peer Support Association.
And it's my pleasure to be part of that board, because I really appreciate the work you do, and we know each other since, I think, 5 years right now, and I see all the realizations in different communities, around Ottawa, and I'm hearing about what you are doing, especially for stigma. And I really appreciate that, and it will be my pleasure to do what I can do to help, to
And here we are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
At the CAPSA podcast, and send a message of, and I think, two things. An uncomfortable message. I'm not sure if anybody's caught it, but Pap has been saying throughout this conversation that we need to look because we're not doing it right, and that it's a system issue, and that personal decisions are going to be important, but system level decisions are going to be the difference maker.
Exactly.
Exactly. And that you're helping carry that message in many different ways, including here at CAPSA. And then we're going to be able to have more people hear us.
Exactly. Exactly.
But it's not going to be this.
No.
It's going to be this. And of course, today we're not going to shake hands. And so I'm going to close off with one question, if that's okay. Is Recovery Ottawa is coming up. When I go there, I'm very aware that we call it of the general, trying to find the right words. It's not Caucasian Day, but it's almost, And so our desire to reach out to the broader community, to extend that, to have people feel safe and people feel welcome. Realizing that it's not our intent that's stopping that, but it's often stigma. Many of the racial communities have a heavier stigma around saying this involves me, this involves my family. If you had a message to anybody about why they should come to Recovery Day this year, what would you say?
I would say that those people facing the reality of addiction, mental health, they are members of our community, of our families, and they need love. They need to be here in their, all their efforts for healing. Sometimes we can think that they don't want to heal, and it's like bad thinking around what they face. And we need to have all our communities around that cause, because I think that, together we can more help those members of our families, those members of our society to heal from what they are facing right now. It's not just we as professionals, it's families. It's, our, friends. All people we love and who are around in our circle, our cycle, those people must be with compassion. Need to, to give compassion, to give humanity, and to know just that none of us is safe from those issues. Absolutely. The only who is safe is someone who have the reality of the possibility to have, the right help, the right services, the right programs for his needs. So, and we must be humble, around all the reality of addiction and mental health, especially in my community. My message will be to have another look, help people to have another look around the reality of addiction and mental health. Yeah.
Yeah. Just take another look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.